Sam, welcome to the Personal Best podcast.
Thank you very much for having me.
How are you doing?
I'm very well, very well.
Good?
Yes, all good.
Amazing. Well, it's lovely to have you here in the new studio.
Yeah, I know, it looks amazing.
It's nice.
It is very nice.
Nice setup. So, for anyone that doesn't know you, maybe they don't recognise you, can I just get you to do a little personal intro? Where are you from? What do you do?
So my name is Sam Williams. Sam Williams Fit on socials. And I'm from Bristol, so not London. Came down today. Grew up in Bristol, lived in Bristol all my life. Went to school in Bristol. Then I went to college in Gloucester, Hartbury College. You might have
Yeah, I
heard
know.
it. And then I did a sports course there. Still working out really what path I wanted to go down in life. And then after that, I got a job in Bristol again. It was actually the world's first indoor surf lake. Which was really close to my house because I used to surf as a kid.
Okay.
We had a caravan in South Wales where I'd spend so much time in the summer. So surfing was something I did as a kid. So it sort of made sense at sort of 17, 18 to pay the bills to work there, and it was great fun. And then since then I've been working in digital marketing and still do that at the moment alongside my social media.
Yeah, because that's how I came across you. Like, I saw your
Yeah.
fitness content. I think your videos are so, like, aesthetic, obviously.
Yes.
I think that's what you go for. But, like, yeah, it's really good, the content that you create. And I know that you've gained quite a large following on social media, like
Yeah.
over 100K on Instagram. So I want to get into all of that. But before we do, just tell me a bit about your fitness journey. Like, how did
So,
that come about?
Yeah, so I was growing up. I was very active. Played all the sports you can imagine: football, rugby, cricket, even triathlons. Honestly,
Triathlons?
I used to do those as well,
Wow.
and obviously surfing. But I was very, very skinny, and going all through school, I was very skinny. And then at sort of 17, I had a massive growth spurt. So I grew to 6'4", and I was skinny anyway. So you put two and two together. I was very thin,
Beanpole.
very thin. Yeah, and in school, I had people would often take the mick. Like, I had friends that would put their hands around my wrists just to take the mick out of honestly how like thin I was. And I basically, at like 16, 17, I stopped playing sport and I just focused on training. And I started training when I was at college. And I joined their gym there. And the hardest thing about going to the gym, I think, especially as a boy, is when you're already skinny, but you're then seen in the gym. But everyone's got to start somewhere, and that's I feel like when you're in the gym and you've just started, you do open yourself up to a lot of comments, and you can't just wear a big baggy hoodie the whole time.
Yeah.
But but I did stick at it. But those first sort of 6 to 12 months were hard. I felt like I got a lot of comments because I just looked so abnormal. However, I was then blessed by lockdown. And I say blessed because I had a home gym, obviously at home, because my dad played rugby to quite a high standard. So my family have always been very fitness related. So I had a home gym in my garage, and I had everything I needed. I had barbells, dumbbells, a bench press, squat rack, pull-up
Wow.
bar. Like, I had the full kit. All my friends were wanting to come round, obviously when it was allowed.
Yeah.
And so I know that lockdown was split into two sections, but I had the best part of a year just living and breathing gym, and that was all I did for like that year.
Yeah.
I'd wake up, I'd train, I'd eat, and I would study it because I had all the time in the world. So I studied it inside and out, and that was gym and nutrition. And even in my gym now, in my garage, there's these big whiteboards that have got all my numbers on for my PBs and all the meals I would have every day, and the calories and the protein in them. Like, I just was so obsessed, and I just studied everything. And that was, going back to what I said it was a blessing because I was so conscious of people seeing me in the gym because, I was so skinny. I wanted to get past that stage. But being able to train in my garage when no one was watching me, I could wear what I want, I could do what I want, I could play, music out loud. It was just amazing for that sort of 1 year. And, I almost came out of that a different person. And then obviously when lockdown ended, I had the confidence and the sort of build to be like, right, I can go and train at my local gym now. So I signed up to their village gym, and then I've been training I've been training there since. Because it's nice and close to home. So, and it's the best one in my area. And that was when I started creating my fitness content. I didn't do anything through lockdown. I didn't do anything before then. And it was once I came out of lockdown and I had a bit of confidence, and I wasn't as skinny. I was still pretty skinny, but I wasn't as skinny. That was when I started to film content in the gym.
That's so interesting.
Yeah.
What a journey.
I know.
I always love asking people that, because I think for people who do see your social media, it's very easy to look at that and think, oh, this guy's just lucky, he's just built like a gym bro. But actually, like, everyone has to start somewhere, like you say. And it's funny listening to your story because it's so similar to Joe Fazer. You must know Joe Fazer.
I know Joe Fazer.
Yeah, and he dealt a lot with insecurities around being a tall, skinny guy in school. And he also said that when he joined the gym, that was actually when he got the most criticism, because suddenly you kind of look like the odd one out.
Of course,
in the gym environment.
Yeah, because if you're skinny and you're just going about your day-to-day life, then no one can really take the mick. But if you're skinny and you're in the gym, people are going to be looking at, well, you're in the gym, so you must be in good shape. But everyone's got to start somewhere.
Definitely.
You can't just all of a sudden skip the first 2 years of training. So there is, and I think that's something that I can say it from a lad's perspective. Lads do struggle with that because you just have to start. And as I said, when you're seen in the gym, it's quite easy for people to assume, oh, you're in shape if you go gym. But if you've just started, then that's not the case. Those first year, 2 years are actually the worst ones.
Yeah,
definitely.
Yeah, someone shared a quote on the podcast recently that said, you don't have to be great to start, but you do have to start to be great.
Exactly.
And it's exactly that thing. And people listening will probably also know Jack's Fit. The guy.
I actually met both of them at a recent event, Joe and Jack.
Yeah. Nice guys. And it's funny how crazy his social media's gone, because for people who don't know, he's just an ordinary guy who is quite underweight and struggles to put on weight. And the way people have joined him and like wanting to follow his journey, like everyone loves an underdog, but also so many people can probably relate to him because they were him at one point.
Yeah, of course.
But if you had to give some advice to like your younger self, maybe you've learned things along the way, like what advice would you give to people who want to bulk up, who want to make progress in the gym?
I think I would definitely say that, you can't just start on any gym plan. The best gym plan for you is one that you can maintain. Yeah. There's no point starting off and saying, right, I'm going to consume 5,000 calories a day and I'm going to train 6 days a week, 2 hours a session. Because that will last, you either injure yourself or you're just, it's going to last 2 weeks, 3 weeks max. So the best one to do is to work out, okay, what's achievable and what can I do week in, week out, month in, month out, year in, year out, and then stick to that. Because, there's no point smashing it for 2 weeks and then taking a whole week off and then, back in it for a week and then 2 weeks off because you're injured. So the best thing to do is to, I would definitely take inspiration from people, but work out what's achievable for you, what's, easy to maintain, and just stick to that because consistency is by far the key.
Definitely.
By far the key.
No, that's really good advice. And it chimes in with what I spoke about with my last podcast guest, that it's so easy, especially with social media, to look at what everyone else is doing and people share their weekly splits and their workouts and think, oh gosh, okay, I need to do that. But actually you need to treat yourself on an individual basis and think, what can I do? What's going to be sustainable?
Definitely.
But obviously you have come really far in terms of your fitness journey and with where you're at now in terms of how you view your body and how you've made progress in the gym. Like, has that helped you build confidence, would you say?
I'd say definitely. I always say, I'm proud but never satisfied.
Yeah.
So that's one thing that I always have to say to my mum, because she's like, you're fine now.
It's such a mum thing, isn't it?
It's such a mum thing.
Yeah.
Mum, I'm proud, but I'm never satisfied. But then that was one thing that pulled me away from sport, because you can somewhat complete sport. You can win the league in football. You can, you can win that game as such. But whereas with training, you can never reach your end goal, because
you don't win the gym.
No, you can't. It's just an endless game.
Yeah.
But some people that just wouldn't work for some people. People need a goal, an end goal, and and they're sort of, you know, right, I've done it now. That's it. But whereas for me, it's, you know, I like to maintain that hunger, and by never being able to complete something, but you can be, you know, one step closer every day. That just, for me, it works and it keeps me hungry, definitely.
But how do you maintain that motivation? And maybe it spills over into discipline sometimes.
I think it does. And I think it's just, it's an obsession and a somewhat delusion that, you know, that you are going to achieve those goals that you set out, no matter how big or small they might be. And that was one thing I said to myself at the start. Like, I never started this knowing where it was going to go, but once it started to move, I was like, you know, I started looking at people like David Lade has always been a massive inspiration for me. And I think Joe's a couple of years, Joe Fazer, Joe's a couple of years younger than me, or maybe 1 year younger than me. But, you know, achieving something like that is so cool. And I thought, you know what, this whole gym social media thing's quite fun. So why not, you know, actually give it a go? And it's such a saturated field that everyone is trying to get into. So you need somewhat of a mindset and a delusion that you are going to make it, and an obsession, you know, to sort of your craft, to go in, day out, you know, eat well, train well, sleep well, but just do it in and out. And that's really what it takes, to be honest, because as I said, so many people try and do it. And I'm not saying that I've done it yet. I have goals that are much bigger than where I am now.
Yeah.
But people say, oh, you've done so well to get to where you are now. But it takes, people don't see the work really that goes into it. People see the video. You know, people that don't see me in person see me, you know, once a day on a video that's like 15 seconds long. But actually, there's so much more that goes into it than that. You know, I have memories come up on my phone all the time at like 11 p.m. and I'm eating bowls of pasta and protein shakes with like olive oil in it just to get the calories in. I wouldn't recommend.
No,
to those watching, I wouldn't recommend olive oil and protein shakes. But, you know, some things have to be done.
Yeah, but that's so important. And I think that is a really useful reminder to people that, especially with social media, like that's the tip of the iceberg. Like you don't see everything else that's below it and the work that you put in. But I think it's interesting as well for someone like yourself who is motivated by progress. And I think until you embark on a fitness journey, whatever that might look like for you, it's quite hard to grasp that. It's quite hard to understand how addictive progress can become.
It is, yeah.
Because I feel that it motivates me.
Yeah. So I have a cameraman with me in the gym now, and that started as me just teaching him to train, and he's been training with me now for probably 6 months. And I said to you, listen, if you really commit to it, it's quite, you know, you can like become so into it and so obsessed. And he was like, 3 weeks in, he was like, it was all he could think about. And, and that took me back to when I just started, more so when I was in my garage. It was the only thing I could think day in, day out was just what session was next. And just because you improve that 0.1% every day, you know, because you're never going to go to the gym for 2 weeks and wake up looking like David Lade, or you're never going to, you're never going to jump on a treadmill and all of a sudden be able to run, you know, like a marathon. It's just not how it works. And it's that, again, might not work for some people, but that worked for me. It was that end goal, but it was the tiny steps day in, day out that gets you there, that you need to be obsessed and have the discipline just to, you know, stick to the plan almost.
Definitely. But that's a really interesting point in itself, is like you might not see the progress that you want overnight.
Yeah.
So when you are maybe in a bit of a lull, you feel like you've hit a plateau, you're maybe not seeing the progress that you want.
Yeah.
How do you keep pushing forward?
I think you just have to review what you're doing, whether that's your training, whether that's your diet or your sleep, and be like, right, well, what I'm doing right now, I've come to a halt. So something has to change, you know, something has to improve, whether that's, you know, if you're trying to build muscle, you're trying to put on weight, you should look at your diet, right? Everything I'm eating now, it's got me to here, but now it stopped. So I'm going to have to up it again, whether that's, one more meal, or, you know, it could be anything. Like 200-300 calories can come from, you know, a protein shake that you have just before you go to bed. And you could say the same with training. Like if you're improving on your bench press for months and months, and then it suddenly comes to an end and you're like, I can't get any stronger, then you might have to move away from that movement, you know, go somewhere else and then come back to it. Or again, change up your training style. If, you know, if you're always doing the same amounts of sets and reps, then change it up, you know, go for sort of 3x3s or 5x5s instead of always doing 10 or 12 reps. I think you just have to, you know, look at what you're doing at the moment, and something has to change, you know, to improving it, and, you know, keep pushing forward.
Yeah, that's really good advice. And also the consistency thing again. And it's funny, as you were speaking there, I was thinking about this video I watched of Chris Williamson's, and he's like my podcast idol. Yeah. And I found it mad. So he said that from doing the podcast for 5 years, he got to 1 million subs on YouTube. Wow. And then in the last 9 months, he's got to 2 million. So like the way it compounds is crazy. And that's because of like the changes that he's made to make it bigger and better. And I feel like progress is like that as well, with regardless of what you're working towards, it will kind of go up steadily, and then it will shoot up, and then it might plateau, and then it will go up again. I have to think part of the journey.
It's like a snowball effect, I find. It's like the hardest bit is just rolling it into, and as soon as it starts to roll on its own, it then becomes a bit easier. But then you might hit something and you've got to move it, and then it rolls again. So, but you know, the hardest thing is just starting. I think there's obviously going to be obstacles in the way, but the main thing is you just have to start. Definitely. One way or another.
Definitely. And I now get a lot of people asking me how to start a podcast, which I find crazy, because I still very much feel like this is the beginning for me. But I just say, like, just try and do a couple of episodes, because you learn by doing the thing. You can have all the research mapped out and your plan ready, but until you start doing it, you don't learn.
100%.
You're not going to make progress.
And you evolve as you go along. Like in the gym now, I have Sonny, my cameraman, that comes with me, and we have all these different lenses and cameras and stuff. And I have lads that have come to me in the gym that, you know, first off are saying, "Oh, I watched your video, Sam, that's so cool." And then, you know, they have now started to do that themselves, and they get really frustrated because they don't, you know, if you compare yourself to someone that's doing it for years, it's never going to help you. And, you know, they're thinking, "Oh, well, do I need a cameraman? Do I need a big fancy lens?" But you don't. Like, when I started, I literally had my tripod on my phone for the first 2 years. I think I got to like 200k on TikTok with just my phone. And that was my iPhone 12. So, you know, these new phones are even better than those ones now. So
but that's good. And a previous guest said to me, don't compare your chapter 1 to someone else's chapter 20. And it's exactly that thing. But I want to get into some of the social media side of stuff, because like I mentioned at the beginning, you've created like a social presence for yourself. You've gained a lot of followers. So how did that come about? Like, why did you start to post fitness content?
Funny enough, I was a TikTok hater when it first came out.
I feel like everyone was that's done well on TikTok.
I feel like it is. I was like, I remember my brother trying to make me download it. I was like, no, I'm too cool for that. Like,
it's for the kids.
It is. And I was so against it. And then, you know, I then downloaded it eventually, as everyone does. And I would obviously watch fitness related content. And I would, so you said at the start, my videos are very much like aesthetically, you know, based, like to watch. You know, it's not so much, I'm not an online coach. I don't necessarily give out tips. I'm not a power lifter. So, it's, you know, my content isn't, you know, strength related. I really enjoyed watching aesthetic videos of people, you know, going to the gym, whether that's, you know, filling up their car and it's dark, and then arriving at the gym, and then bag down, and then training. I just liked watching those sort of videos. It would make me really motivated, especially David Lade, obviously on YouTube. And I was like, it'd be so cool if I could just make those myself, but change him for me. That was my whole concept. So I just started filming myself in the gym, posting my first few videos, not expecting where it would go. I had no real intention for it to go anywhere. I just thought it was quite fun to do. And then, things just started to take off, really. People engaged with the videos, and I think within a few months, I'd hit my first like viral video. That was my first one to hit 1 million. I think TikTok. It's on like 2 million now. And I looked at it the other day, I gained 36,000 followers from one video. And that's what I tell people, like, yes, you might be posting your first sort of 10, 50 videos, say, you know, and it just takes one. It takes one, because then all of those people follow, and then all of those people are watching your videos from now on. So, you know, and TikTok is the only app where you can have no followers and get 1 million views.
Yeah,
so
true.
It's the place to start if you're looking for that, you know, quick exposure. And there's an element of luck, definitely.
Yeah. There's a girl who's gone crazy viral for just miming a song. Have you seen? It's like on 14 million views.
Honestly, some things just go crazy overnight, and then all of a sudden you've got this platform handed to you.
Yeah.
But it's not that easy. I know that, you know, you hear stories like that and you're like, well, why can't that be me? But, you know, everyone is trying. But you should do everything that's going to put you in the best position possible to go viral, whether that's, you know, a trending audio or the cleanest footage possible, best lighting. You know, if it's a really fuzzy video and it's, you know, you can hardly see you in it, it's never going to go viral. But these algorithms, you have no idea how they work.
It's so unpredictable. But also, I definitely agree with you on that. But also, it's what you do after.
100%.
So you get the viral video.
Yeah.
Do you just then sit back and think, oh, well, I've made it?
Exactly.
No, so, you keep going.
Definitely. So the hard bit is, you know, that first almost breakthrough. But then even harder is to maintain that, and to have another one and maintain all the audience that now follow you. You know, it's so easy to just lose them as quickly as you gain them.
Yeah.
So you have to, you know, all of a sudden be like, okay, right, so this video's done well. People have engaged with that. I'm going to do more of that style of video. Which is one bit of advice I would give to people is to find a niche within fitness. You know, there's so many different niches within fitness, and you can find a topic or a subject that you like and then just roll with that. But at the start, you can try a few different ones, and one might do really well. So then you just zone in on that one, and you just produce more and more of that content. And that's something that I would definitely recommend to people, is to not be solely focused on, right, I want to do this style of content, when actually something else might be better for you.
Yeah, don't get stuck. Yeah, it's interesting. I was going to ask you what advice you'd give, because I noticed that quite a few people who follow the podcast do have fitness accounts.
Yes.
And I've also got a friend who has just recently started an Instagram account sharing his fitness journey. And he's actually doing a calf raise for every new follower he gets. So everyone go follow Fraser Lifts. So he ends up doing like 10,000.
He's got bigger calves than me.
They'll be huge. But yeah, I just think it's interesting to hear from you what you would suggest to people, because like you said, the world of fitness on social media is quite saturated now. So how do you stand out?
That's, you know, if there was an answer to that question, then, you know, everyone would be a fitness influencer. But there isn't necessarily an answer, but you can do everything, you know, that's possible on your end to put yourself in the best position possible to have that viral video and be given, you know, a chance to build on. And like I said, that is, you know, filming in the best lighting, wearing clothes that people, you know, as long as it's visually pleasing on the eye, that's what people engage with. It has to be engaging. That's the one thing. And we're now in a day and age where, you know, it's more than just your physique. You know, there are probably thousands and thousands of people with better physiques than all those that are, you know, sponsored by these gym brands, because you have to build a community more so than just a following. A following will just see you as an image, right? People just know you for your physique, but they won't. That isn't a community. A community will follow you for your personality. They'll buy into you as a person. Yeah. Which is why brands then look at you and think, oh, he's, you know, we can provide him with something that he can promote to a lot of people that are going to invest in that. Which is why you see a lot of the sort of younger influencers that are just coming up now, you know, like Jack's Fit, for example. I think he signed with Myprotein and Hardbody. Like, he hasn't got the physique he wants yet, but then people are engaged with him because of his personality, because he's so good in front of the camera, and he puts his you know, himself across as him. He's not trying to hide or be anyone else. He's just him, and people engage with that, which is why he's got such a huge following, and why brands want to work with him more so than the guy that has a better physique, but will never talk to the camera,
Yeah.
will never put its personality across. So it's about building a community 100%.
Yeah.
And that definitely requires your personality over your physique.
That's really interesting. And it's sort of what I'm trying to do with the podcast as well.
Yeah.
And I'd say I only really changed my idea around that a couple months ago when a guest actually said to me, like, I feel like you're building a community of people who want to better themselves. And that's so nice, because rather than it just be me saying something that sounds semi-motivational, it's like we're all in this journey together. And I'm also on the journey of wanting to better myself. Like, I haven't got it all figured out.
Yeah,
So
of course.
I hope that anyone who listens to the podcast and engages with it and engages with the guests, wanting to follow that journey as well.
Yeah,
I think it's really important.
Definitely.
But you mentioned there about working with brands. Obviously, you're working with Vanquish.
Yes.
How did that come about?
So that came about. So I've not actually been posting on Instagram for very long. So I've just hit 120k followers, but I've been posting for like 7 months, 8 months on Instagram. Yeah, because I did TikTok for a couple of years, and then that grew to a point where brands were starting to sort of contact me, and I needed an Instagram presence basically. And I still kick myself because I should have started Instagram the same time I started TikTok.
Why didn't you?
I don't know why I didn't, because I had a normal Instagram. Like, I had 7,000 or 8,000 followers. I'd post photos of me, on holiday. I had a very typical lad's Instagram. And I wanted to keep the two separate because I didn't know that, my fitness thing would, come to anything. But Instagram is the platform that I think brands, they look for the most, I think.
It is, yeah.
So, I moved over, I changed my name from Sam Williams to Sam Williams Fit. And yeah, it just went, a bit crazy, to be honest. Like, it's not just the followers that have come across from my TikTok. Like, I get more views now on Instagram. I think that's because I put more effort and time into it, because I see it as a bit of more of a professional platform.
Yeah.
So when I started that about 6-7 months ago, I grew that to like 30 or 40k, and then Vanquish reached out to me to become one of their athletes, which was quite crazy, to be honest. I was like, I just started, and I was like, oh wow. So it was a real big opportunity for me. It was the first time I was then having an income through fitness.
Yeah.
And that definitely allowed me to push on, because that would pay for my cameraman, that would pay for my lenses, that would pay for my camera. That was when I transitioned from my phone to my camera. And once you start having an income like that from fitness, I would just reinvest all the money I would make from it, as
into making better content.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And even things like, I've been to Dubai recently to film content. So, and that was, money that I'm using because of, money I've made from social media. So it's, from my garage to Dubai is in quite a short space of time was a bit surreal, to be honest.
Do you ever look back and just think, like, how's this happened?
So I obviously walked through my garage to get to the other fridge in our house. If we ever run out of milk, and I'm like, this is where I would spend.
This is where it
so
all started.
Long. Yeah, and I still laugh at my whiteboards on the floor with, like, chicken and rice and broccoli equals this many calories. I've got it all written down.
I love that.
Yeah.
But I think it's quite interesting, because obviously you're doing all of this. I'm sure people are looking at you in awe, but you also have a other job.
Yeah, so
how are you balancing it?
So at events and stuff and shoots, everyone's like, oh, so, people assume I do this full time, or people that comment, people that may have followed me but aren't necessarily my friends, be like, oh, so you do this full time now. But, I've always done this out of hours almost. So I work in marketing, like internet marketing. And that's been my day job for a couple of years now. And will always be sort of my day job. And my days look like, I was in the office for 8, I was done by 4. I would then be straight to the gym. I'd be filming until sort of 6 or 7. I'd then come home, and then I would either then eat and then edit and then work again, or eat and then work, and then I would do my editing late at night. Like it was from Monday to Friday, that was it still is my routine, and it's so strict because I haven't got time to do anything else.
Yeah.
Like, you know, it's so full on, and there's, you know, I was talking to you earlier about it, there's always something to do. You can't ever be, you know, too far ahead in terms of social media planning, because I find the key is consistency. Like I've posted every day now at 7 p.m. on Instagram and on TikTok for like, on TikTok for coming up to 3 years now.
Wow.
So I'd never miss a day. Even like I was training on my birthday. I trained on Christmas this year.
Really?
But that again, you know, I feel like I put a lot of my, you know, the success I've had so far down to that obsession, and that somewhat, you know, just, you have to be a bit weird almost. Honestly, like my dad got it a lot more than my mum got it. You know, if we got home from holiday one day and it was, you know, like 10, 11 p.m. at night, and I was like, I'm going to the gym now, you know, my mum would be like, what are you doing, Sam?
Yeah.
What are you doing? Or if I've had a long day at work, you know, all mum would say was, oh, you know, have some tea and then just chill. But it was never an option. You know, going to the gym for me, especially when I was like 18, 19, 20, it was a bit like, I would see it as brushing my teeth. It was, in no world would I finish a day without doing it. It was just part of my day. If that was on time at 5 p.m. or if that was, you know, at 11 p.m., I wouldn't even, you know, have the thought in my mind, I just skipped today. But I think that's one of the things that you just simply have to have if you want to make it to where you want to go.
But that's so interesting, because I'm sure there will be some people listening thinking like, why would you do that? Why would you put yourself
think it's
through
weird.
that?
Like people, I still now, you know, I like training on a Friday night at my gym because no one's there.
Yeah. Like,
you know, when I leave for the gym after a full day's work, you know, my parents are going to bed. You know, some of my friends are going out partying, and I'm like, lads, I'm off to the gym.
Yeah.
But, you know, in my own mind, that sets me apart from those that, you know, I often say, you know, work while your competition party. And that's always something that gets me through those Friday night sessions or those Saturday night sessions, because it doesn't have to take over your life. Like I said, I do all of this in my, you know, outside of a full-time job, but you do have to sacrifice something. But, you know, have you ever watched a documentary of anyone's success, whether that's an athlete or a business owner or anyone, and they haven't sacrificed some things? It's part of it, really.
For you, though, where do you think that site obsession comes from? Because it would be so easy to just skip the gym and go to the pub, but you're not doing that.
No, I think, you know, it can stem from a lot of things. And I use the people that don't believe in me as motivation just as much as I use the people that do believe in me as motivation. Because those are the ones that really, you know, when the days are dark, those are the ones that really drive me on. Like I had, obviously, you know, my so-called friends at school that would, like, you know, have their hands around my wrists and take the mick out of how skinny I was. And I have a story that I haven't really told anyone, but I had an ex-girlfriend like a couple of years ago, and her best friend at the time was someone I never really got on with. We were very different, and she this was right at the start of my, you know, so-called fitness journey, and she messaged me, and I was like, you know, we don't talk. It was weird for her to message me on Instagram. So I thought, what's this? And she was basically mocking what I was doing and like taking the mick out of, you know, my so-called dream of, you know, one day making it in this sort of fitness scene. And she was so patronizing. You know, she even talked about, because she studied sports science at uni, that she can help me. You know, if I'm looking to be noticed by brands, if I want to grow my page, and, you know, she can help me. But she was being so patronizing because, you know, saying that I was going about it all wrong. And it's people like that, you know, I could just almost show where I've come from. But those are the people that are always in my head on those Friday nights when it's dark, it's raining, it's, you know, it's cold. All you want to do is almost just lie down and eat pizza. Then those are the ones that drive me to get up, you know, take my pre-workout and go to the gym. Because, yeah, it's, as I just said, those that don't believe in you I find them more motivating than people that do believe in you.
I love that. Yeah. And it makes so much sense. Like,
Yeah.
I relate everything back to the podcast because it's what I know, but we definitely all have a negativity bias.
Yeah.
And your brain is better at, I don't know the neuroscience behind it, but your brain is better at remembering negative things.
Yeah.
And I'm exactly the same with some comments that I've had. I'm like, I'm going to prove you wrong. Like,
Yeah.
I can get 100 comments telling me how great the podcast is, but there'll be one that's negative, and that's what fuels me.
That's the only one you can look at and think about. No, but that's how we work as humans.
But I think it's really great that you can use something like that as a force for motivation and something that's going to encourage you, rather than let it like eat you up and get the better of you.
Of course.
Definitely.
It's very easy it all depends on how you work as a human and your mentality, because as you just said, you could have 100 positive comments about your podcast, and that one negative might make people stop.
Yeah.
But then actually you need to use that one person as more motivation than I wouldn't even read those other 99. I would just look at that one and be like, right, because of you, I'm going to go to the gym now and, be one step closer.
It really made me laugh. I got a negative comment recently, which I shared on my Instagram. And I just put the person's YouTube comment, and then someone replied to it and said, "Enjoy not growing, Amanda." It just really made me laugh.
For me, that honestly, that just like that boils my blood, and that just sparks a fire inside. I'm like, right, well, because of you, Nathan
Amanda,
or whatever, I'm gonna make it just because of you.
Definitely.
But then, like, people don't use that in that way. That one comment might make someone stop, like I said, but then some people will use that as motivation. It just depends how you use that whole negative side of things.
Yeah. But just before we round this up, I just want to talk a little bit more about your lifestyle, like your routine, because I can imagine that, some people have a long day at work, they come home at 5 and they just want to put their feet up, watch TV. Like, how do you then motivate yourself enough to get to the gym and to put the work in?
It's like, it's not, I don't really question it. Like, I think if you make something your routine, at the start it's going to be difficult, but if you make something your routine and you stick to it for so long that it just becomes the norm,
a habit,
then it, you'd be surprised how easy it becomes. And I feel like, don't just go to the gym for the sake of going to the gym. I see so many people that go to the gym and they're almost on their phone while working out because
really
they don't really
me.
Want to be there. But if you're going to be there, put 100% in. If you're not going to put 100% in, you might as well just stay at home, because you are just wasting your time here when you're not achieving anything and you could just be at home enjoying yourself.
Yeah, I do get that. I mean, I think like any movement's better than no movement. But if you're going to go to the gym, at least make it worthwhile.
Exactly.
Like there was a guy in the gym with me the other day, and not with me, but at the same time.
Yeah.
And he was on the phone the whole time through his headphones, and then he'd do some easy reps of bicep curls, and then he'd walk around and be on the phone and then do some more. I was like, what are you doing?
No, you might as well go home.
Just
at
go
that
home.
point. I know. You might as
sounds
well go
so
home.
mean.
But if you do something so often, it just becomes your routine.
It does.
And you would be, if you'd be surprised how easy that it then becomes. And if you have a goal in mind, then that makes it even easier again, because you're always working towards something. I always have to work towards something, and then as soon as I hit that goal, I'm already thinking of the next one. Even when I know I'm about to hit that goal, I've already got another one in the back of my head, because that's just how I work. I can't ever be satisfied.
Purpose fuels progress.
Exactly.
That's a quote I like.
Exactly.
It's interesting as well. Like, one of my friends explained this idea as your mind almost is like an elastic band, and like the more you do in your life, it's like this elastic band that's just being stretched and stretched and stretched, and it's like your life becomes bigger, and sometimes you stretch it too far and you're like, okay, I can't do everything. But it's this idea of like someone like yourself will work all day and then go to the gym and then come home and edit, because you've stretched that elastic band, that you realize what you're able to do, whereas other people will just go to the gym and go home, and they don't realize how much more they could do with their time.
I know. I think people's day typically finishes at 3-4 o'clock. You don't realize until you fill that time after that how much time that is. Like, people typically go to bed at 10, 11, midnight. if you've got like another whole day's work after you finish work, you know, you've got a good 7 or 8 hours where you can, you know, you can do so much in that time, especially if you work for someone else. You know, you spend your whole day working for someone else. You then, you can't spend 2 or 3 hours working on yourself for something. I just think I can't wrap my brain around that.
No.
Because people will happily go and sit down from like 5 o'clock all the way up until like 11, just watch TV. And I get that some people, you know, some people aren't into fitness. Some people don't do what we do, and that's fine. But for me, I would feel so guilty. So guilty.
Yeah, it's interesting, and this is why I like having these conversations, to try and explore like the mindset behind that, because it is difficult when people don't really understand why you do what you do.
Yeah, but that's fine.
Yeah.
People don't have to understand, because that's what, you know, when people don't understand, I think I heard David Goggins say this, it was like, when you're so misunderstood, that's when you know that you're doing something right.
Yeah.
Because you just go into a state where it's no longer normal, and you know, you aren't doing normal things, because who wants to be normal, right? Who wants to like remain average?
Not
No
me.
one. No.
Not me.
No.
Amazing. So just to round it up, I'm going to ask you the question I ask every guest, which is, if you had to give a piece of advice, or you can share a quote you like or a mantra to help people achieve their personal best, what would it be?
Well, I touched on one earlier, which was be proud but never satisfied. That's something I've always listened to. But I would also say that, you know, if you woke up every day and, you know, acted as if someone was filming or documenting your life, you know, as a road to success, would you just, you know, lie down and eat crisps all day? No, you wouldn't. You'd get up, right? If you acted as if someone was filming and documenting your whole life, day in, day out, then you would act as if, you know, you were that person. And I think that, you know, if you can get into that mindset, it just helps so much. Because that's where I get the guilt from. You know, I couldn't just sit there and do nothing and just eat crisps or chocolate and, you know, waste my hours of my day, when actually the real, you know, successful people are out there working, using every hour in the day. And that's just the mindset that I tapped into quite early.
Yeah, I really like that. I think that's a really nice way to frame it. And I guess it's difficult when you don't know exactly what it is that you want to do. Like, I think once you have a clear idea, as I said earlier,
definitely.
like that purpose fuels your progress. But once you do have an idea, or say you're like dreaming about something, like start doing things that are gonna push you towards that place. Like,
definitely.
I had a mad day yesterday where I did a podcast with Bradley Simmons, which will have already been out. And then, because I'm training for half marathon, I did my longest run, which was 18-kilometer run. And I thought, a few months ago, I was just imagining doing this. And now I'm doing it and I'm living it. And I think once you start to do that, it is that snowball effect.
100%.
It really is.
The hardest thing is just to start. But once you start, then everything becomes a lot easier. You realize, oh, actually, it's not that difficult. And you can then, you know, slowly build and build and build. But people always say that, though, isn't it? The hardest thing is just to start. As you said with the podcast, right?
Yeah.
The most difficult thing is just that first episode. Like,
yeah.
Who do I do it with? Where do I do it? How do I do it? But if you can just, you know, start to do the small things that build towards that, then those obviously over time, you know, help you get to where you need to go.
Definitely. And the start is the scary part.
100% it is.
I totally get that, but it does get easier. And I think as well, with this idea of, you know, working towards your goals, once you start to get these little rewards coming through, it just really does add like fuel to your fire.
100%. It was no different to when I started, you know, TikTok or Instagram. It was like, can we hit 1K? Okay. Can we hit 10K?
Yeah.
Can we hit 100K? And it was like, it never ends. But, you know, I'd laugh at, you know, my goal at the start was to hit like 1K followers. And I always think, oh, imagine 10K on Instagram. That'd be crazy. The little K on your account.
Yeah.
I'd be like, that's mental.
I remember that.
And, you know, as soon as I hit like, you know, I went from 10K to 100K quicker than I went from 1K to 10K. So it's as soon as you start, you just end up steamrolling a lot of those goals that you never thought were even possible.
Yeah.
But then until you start, you're never going to know.
I know. And
know.
you don't want that regret, do
No.
you? You really don't. But no, all of this has been so inspiring. Like even me listening, like I genuinely do feel motivated and inspired, and I really, really hope that everyone listening feels the same. But
definitely.
If they don't already follow you, where can people go if they want to find you online?
Sam Williams Fit, which is on Instagram, TikTok, and now YouTube. So Sam Williams Fit.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much. And
thanks for having me.
I'm sure that whatever goals you are working towards, you will reach them.
We'll try.
And surpass them.
Yes.
I've no doubt. So thank you so much, and all the best.
Thanks for having me. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody, for listening.